Today lecture was quite big for all of you who are here. I'm happy that you could all come down for the Shiv Puja. And now, as they have requested in Europe also, we are going to have one Shiv Puja on the 17th, I think, in Rome. They have never had Shiv Puja in the West. And that's why I have decided that we'll have two pujas, though it's quite a difficult thing to have Shiva's puja with such close proximity. Today I have told them how we have got 4 charas in our heart where Shiva resides, and how we have to introspect ourselves and control our attention, because in Sahaja Yoga there is all freedom to be the way you are. Nothing is asked to be sacrificed or to be given up, as they were told before, to go to the Himalayas, take out all your clothes and shiver there in the cold and all sorts of things. The body, the importance of the body, has to be reduced, and for that you have to put your attention inward and try to find joy in everything. To put your attention inside is very easy because you are meditative. Supposing you are going by a bullock cart. If a man is used to a Rolls Royce, he will be all the time complaining, what is this nonsense, sir? Why have I to go by a bullock cart, horrible this, that. But a child, if he's in a bullock cart, he'll be enjoying it. What a nice thing, you're jumping up and down, very nice, how the bullocks are running, beautiful, you can watch everything so carefully outside. Because he's so innocent like Shiva. Like you want to have a proper bathroom, you want to have a proper bed, you want to have all these things. But if you want to make a fun out of it, it's very interesting. Once I went to Lucknow, I went to stay with a relation of mine. And they had only one cot, not so rich. They had lost all their zamidaris. And they said, we have only one cot, if you want you can sleep on the cot or on the ground. I said, all right, I'll try this cot business. That cot was made of coir, and it was all touching the ground like that. So it's just like sleeping on the ground, but it was all like this. But in the night, I found lots of rats running over my body. I was watching them. So the people got very much worried. They said, what, these rats are crawling upon you and going round and round. Yes, I said, one of them is still here under my foot. So they said, aren't you disturbed? I said, what is there to be disturbed? I'm just watching them. I've never seen so many rats together. Just enjoying them. And then they said, you are sleeping in this kind of a cot and you might get little pain tomorrow. I said, no, I'm just enjoying. This is like a nice swing here, you see, nicely. You can move about. It's very nice, very interesting. And next day I was very fresh, and they were surprised how I was so fresh. So all these discomforts of body and all that, and the way we are correcting everything and grudging about everything, complaining about everything, is just a myth. Now you don't have to go to that austerity. What you have to do? Surrender all these things into the ocean of joy, or dissolve it into the ocean of joy. All these comforts. Then also the artificial norms of life that have come up, like we have to have disheveled hair, otherwise you are not in. You have to be really crazy to be in. There are many other things, stupid I think very much, that have come in vogue. and people are following them because they are the norms. If you don't do that, then you think you are not all right, or others may start thinking, oh, what funny man he is. That doesn't mean you should be funny or you should be hippies or anything. But not to be so much worried about the norms. Like one day I saw one gentleman was extremely upset in England, Indian gentleman. I said, what happened? Why are you so upset? He said, by mistake I used the fish knife for eating meat. I said, so what? So everybody watched me, you see. I said, it's all right. You didn't thrust that into anyone. Doesn't matter. If you have eaten fish knife, if you have used fish knife for this, so you must use fish knife first, then this, that. All nonsense. It's not so important than your equanimity, than your balance. So all these little things can also upset us. On the contrary, I would say, oh, really, I did eat with the fish, very good. It's a good thing that I broke something, a big image of a formal dinner was broken. So, it was good. Next time everybody will do that. It may start as a fashion, possibly. If you just put your attention in such a way that this body is not for the penance, but for the havana. Is to be used for the havana, for the yajna. And then you can tell your body nicely that now will you please behave yourself, you see. So first you have to denounce it, all its demands, and then it becomes a thing that you use it for doing God's work. I must say, compared to Indians, Westerners are much better in this respect. I must say that. Indians wanted first the best rooms, they used to fight for it. Now gradually they are coming around a little bit, but still sometimes they start grudging about this, grudging about that. But that way, I don't know how, but I must say that in the West, or even in Australia, people are not so much bothered about these things. I remember once we had gone to Ganpatipura a long time back, and there were no arrangements for sleeping because the MTDC had not vacated. They said we'll do it next day. So many of them just went to the seashore and slept there the night. This mother, we enjoyed it. It was full moon thing. We really enjoyed among ourselves. But the second part is the attachments are there with people. We can say, first of all, is the desire. The desire to have this, desire to have that, all kinds of desires, as we have seen, that we never fulfilled, and we are never satisfied with them when they are satisfied. So, what do we do with our desires? Dissolve it into Shuddha Ichcha, into the pure desire of Kundalini. And third thing is that we have our relations. I mean, I've seen with the Westerners, especially when they get married, I don't know what happens to them. Then suddenly they think they are now married, so now they have become Romeo, Juliet, raised to power 108. And of course, Indians are the other way around. I mean, it's both just the same. So, one has to understand that all right, it's an event of marriage.
But the attention should not be entangled with any person whatsoever. As I have told you many times, the sap of the tree has to rise and give its attention to all the parts of the tree and go back. If it gets attached to any one of the parts, the whole tree will die as well as that part will also die. So in every relationship, whatever you have to give, whatever you have to give to a sister, to your brother, to your children, to your wife, has to be done. But you should not get entangled with it. So what do we do with our attachments? Dissolve it in compassion. And compassion is like sea. The nature of the compassion is it fulfills all the issues, all the balance, all the defects. It just runs into it. The fourth one is the one which is for your attention. When your attention is so pure, then it nourishes this fourth channel which blossoms, rises through your electricity, goes into your sahasrara and becomes a lotus of fragrance. There is those prana stars giving the fragrance of the heart. That's how the combination of the heart and the brain takes place. So this attention itself is the power of Shiva. The attention which we call as Chitta. And this attention is present in every comma of the all-pervading power, the Chaitanya. And this attention really is respected when these Chaitanya commas go into action. While this attention is quiet, it just watches, just sees. It doesn't react. But they see the attention as it is. They just watch it. And they know what it is. And accordingly they act. So Shiva is just a spectator watching the work of the goddess. He's the only spectator. And if he gets angry, and if he sees that human beings are not respectful to his power, then he comes into action and destroys the whole world, destroys the whole work of the goddess. So it is important that you all should join hands, work down the work of the goddess so that Shiva is happy and we create a new world of spirituality and beauty. May God bless you.
I would suggest that first let them ask the questions today. So I'll keep myself there. If you have any questions, it's better to ask me first so that your mind is at rest. I would like to start. Just see people better. Am I better here or on the ground? Now, first of all, it's better to ask the questions because yesterday when we started this question session, people got a little deviated. It's better to ask questions now, what you have, because you are all seekers. You are all seekers and you have been. So it's best just to ask questions now. So I'll be able to put the answer in between my lecture. Are you better today? I'm asking you. Huh? I'll again see you today. Yeah? No questions? Oh. That means Sahaj Yogis have become quite capable of explaining Sahaj Yoga. And I'm very proud of that. When I went to Australia, the newspaper people asked me, "Mother, are all your disciples scholars?" I said, no, they are very common people. They have to be very common and normal people. And they said the way they know things, surprisingly we feel they are all scholars. I said, all scholarship is within yourself. All the knowledge is within yourself. If you only can get light there, you can see all that knowledge is within you. You don't have to go anywhere for your knowledge. It's all inside. Everything is built in. You are built in so beautifully to become your spirit that I don't have to do much about it. It just works out. Only thing is that one has to know what we should expect. To be the spirit, what should be our expectation? And that also logically you must understand. It should be a logical conclusion. Not just because I say something, because you have become a member of some group, because you have paid money somewhere. It's not that. Reality is what it is. And logically it has to be reality. The other day I told you about the left side, about the past, about the subconscious, about the collective subconscious and the problems of the subconscious and the conditionings we get from material things, from matter. Matter is always trying to overpower the spirit. And this matter is overpowering us because we come from matter to begin with. But how does the spirit come out of it? What happens that we become the spirit? People have talked about self-realization. So many people have talked about second birth. Everyone has said that you have to be born again. There are many people who go about saying, I am twice born, self-certified. You can find all kinds of people in this world who are knowing that something has to happen, some breakthrough has to take place, something we have to see. Imagine at the time of Christ, there were not so many people who were sick. Nobody could talk to the disciples also much. They were just ordinary fishermen. very simple people. But today is the time when you find so many of seekers all over the world seeking what? What are you seeking? The seeking is of your spirit. Now this is also a very vague term to say you are seeking your spirit. Now what is this spirit supposed to be? And why should we seek this spirit? In our evolution, we are human beings. Our awareness is that of human beings. And this awareness of human beings is not the ultimate. If it was, we would not have been seeking. It's not the end of it. We have to reach at a point where something more has to happen. Now how do we approach the subject logically? In our evolution, what has happened to us? We were animals, from there we became human beings. What is so special about human beings compared to animals? In the awareness of man, there is a new dimension. For example, you can take a horse through a dirty lane, he doesn't feel anything, the dirt or filth or beauty, colors, nothing. Makes no difference. But if you take a human being through a dirty lane or a dirty house, immediately he understands, he doesn't like it. So what has come into us is nothing but in our awareness, a new dimension compared to animals. Or we can say in very scientific way is that in our central nervous system, we have developed a new awareness. Whatever is in our central nervous system, we are master of that. Supposing I feel this is hot, everybody will feel this is hot. If I say this is the color of this particular bird, everybody will say the same thing. So whatever is the awareness of one human being, awareness, I am saying, not the myth, not the hallucination, but the reality, as far as his organs are concerned, sensory organs are concerned, or is just the same. A person who feels hot does not say that he feels cold. Not the other one will come and say it is cold. They all will say it is hot. So, one thing is there, the truth is one. It cannot be two. And that whatever has to happen now in our evolution has to be in our awareness. Like a fish became a turtle. If a fish became a turtle, what happened to her? It is in the awareness of the turtle, it started feeling the Mother Earth. It lost something that fish had and it started feeling something new. In the same way, in our evolution, if something has to happen, we have to be something more in awareness, more dynamic. For this, we can take help from the writings of so many people. For example, we can consider Jung as one of them who has talked about it. Jung has said, it's difficult to stand. Jung has said that when the breakthrough will take place, the human beings will become collectively conscious, will become. He didn't say that you'll all start doing the same thing or you start behaving in the same manner. No, he said you will become, you will be aware of it, not unawares. So when you are seeking the Spirit, if the Spirit has to enlighten you, in your awareness, you are going to know something more than you have known so far. For example, you might feel it hot and cold today, but maybe with that awareness you might feel something different about it. he has said it very clearly that you have to become collectively conscious. So the becoming is the point in our evolution, nothing else. We become something else. In Sanskrit language, for example, they say, for a realized soul. For Indians, it's very common knowledge. It's nothing so much difficult to understand. He is called as a Dvija, the one who is born again. And also a bird is called as a Dvija, because a bird is born first as an egg and then it grows, matures, and then suddenly it becomes a bird. And that is the parallel of realization. You also know that on the Easter day we give eggs. It has the same symbol, that we are eggs and we have to become the birds. So just now at this stage when we are human beings, we are just limited like an egg to grow up to a point where you can become the bird. All other sort of things people talk of is not the realization. Like, I may say that, alright, if I mesmerize you very well, I can give you bottles and you might start sucking the bottles just like children. Even knowing that you are doing something funny, you are doing it. You will be compelled to do it because you are mesmerized. Any such activity that we fall into is not realization. Because whatever has happened to you, as human beings that you have done no activity whatsoever. We didn't cut our tails as monkeys to become human beings. It has happened spontaneously like a flower becoming a fruit. It's a living process. One does not realize that whatever has to happen to you is a living process, it's not a dead process. What we can do is all dead. For example, we can stand on our heads, we can jump, we can run, we can do all kinds of things, but that is not the living process. The living process is when you become something. And that becoming must be asked by all honest seekers. If you are not honest, then it's difficult. Or even if you are honest and you are misidentified with certain ideas you have read because you have paid for the book or you have paid for an organization, you paid for someone, that's not going to help. What we have to see, what we become. And that's what yesterday I told, that you become the master. You become the prophet. As Blake has said, that God of men will become prophets and they will have powers to make others prophets. So to be very honest with yourself, you should say, have I become a prophet? And can I make others prophet? This is a very simple way of looking at our realization, and this is what you are capable of. That you become the prophet, because everything is within you. The whole machinery is within you. You are like a computer. You are just to be put to the mains if you start working. You have to just become that. And if you do not become that, then all other things, forming an organization and any such thing is of no use, is of no value, is all, I can say, misguidance. What have you got yourself? Supposing, if Ray has to say something, oh, mother saw a light and this happened and that happened, she has these powers, those powers, it's all useless. What is it to you? I may be the king of anything, so what does it matter to you? What has become of you is the important thing, and for that becoming, if I say there is everything placed within you, I have to prove it, that's all. This knowledge is not unknown to us, actually. It's all being described from the time of Moses, like he says the tree of fire. Now what is the tree of fire? Nobody knows. They just say there was tree of fire. But if you see the Kundalini completely enlightened, if you can see, it really looks like a tree of fire. And then it is said also in the Bible that I will appear before you like tongues of flames. Now what is that? No one explains, nobody knows. These tongues of flames are nothing but these centers, when they are enlightened, you see them just like tongues of flames. But you need not see them, Because when you are outside the pavilion, you can see the pavilion. When you are inside, you don't see, you just see the hall. And that is why one should understand that it is not what we think should happen, but it is what will happen actually we should accept. So first we should get rid of our misidentifications with our ideas. That this will happen, that will happen, and this should happen, I should see a light, I should fly in the air. There are many people who are paying money to fly in the air. I mean, it's absurd. Why do you want to fly in the air? I don't understand. They are paying much more money than they can for that than they would have to pay to go around the whole world. I really tell you, by plane if you travel, it won't be so expensive as you are paying for this flying business, this flying squad business. And what is that? We have to understand. What is that? When we go for this flying, what are we getting into? And this method of mesmerism is so subtle that you cannot understand. You just go on. Like the same flying squad business, we had a gentleman who was the director of the academy, down with epilepsy, his wife down with epilepsy, the child down with epilepsy. And they all came down to me, they lost their houses, they lost everything, penniless. This is what has happened to the flying of the whole Jew. Now, one must realize that you cannot pay for your evolution. You cannot pay. It's very simple to understand. As I told you yesterday, that if you pay to this flower, will it become a fruit? It's a living process for which we cannot pay. It doesn't understand money. Living processes do not understand money. I have not known any human being, supposing he is suffering from indigestion, he puts some money there saying that now I pay you my stomach, now will you digest my food. Do we do that? In the same way, it is the highest of highest living processes for which you cannot pay. It's a very subtle thing to understand for human beings, because they believe that for everything one has to pay, otherwise it doesn't work out. You see, you go to a machine, you want to have a good, say, machine, you must pay, which works. You see, it doesn't work, you can have free. But the one that works, we have to pay. Any motor car is free means it's all a junk. You can't have it. You will have to pay to take it to the junk shop. So it is always in the minds of human beings that one has to pay. And this is very wrong, that you cannot pay. I am talking of the processes which are beyond human. The human beings are not doing it. For example, we cannot transform a flower into fruit. The living process itself is beyond human reach. But when you become a superhuman, you can handle it. And this should happen to you. If it does not happen to you, all the rest of the things are wrong. I am telling you with great concern, because the people who are in the market, who are selling goods, are doing it very well. They know how to entice you, they know how to put ideas through you, how to give you misidentifications, and you just get identified with them till they completely drop out. And then you are left high and dry. You say, oh God, what has happened? One thing is there, that your spirit is not lost. It is there. Despite whatever the mistakes, whatever may be the seeking, but the spirit resides within you despite everything till you live. And this spirit is to be brought into your conscious mind, means into your central nervous system. You should feel the powers of the spirit in your being. This is what is Sahaja is. Sahaja, as he must have told you, means born with you. Now yesterday I told you about the left side, which is the power of desire, and through this power we have our all conditionings and all the receptions from the matter, materialistic things, and also what you can say, we collect all our past, and the past then extend up to the collective subconscious. I also told you yesterday that cancer is a disease caused by the left side extreme behavior of people. Those who go to the extreme behavior on the left side get the disease called cancer, and it can be cured if you can bring such an extreme case in the center. It can be cured, no doubt about it. Now the second side is the right side, which today I have told that I will tell you about. The gentleman is not here who asked so many questions. Is he here? He was just busy asking questions, that's all yesterday. He's not interested in speaking, I think. Alright. Now the second side, on the right hand side, is the power by which we act. First we desire and then we act. Now this power, right side power, is expressed within us as right sympathetic nervous system. Science has come from the same. Science is in the gross, these are all subtle things that are within us. Now this right side power, which exists within us, gives us the power for our mental and physical capacity to act. Now this action takes place when we desire something, we want to implement that desire, then we go into action. One has to understand what sort of a power is this. This power is called as Prana Shakti in Sanskrit, Prana. And the another one, the left one, as Mana Shakti, is the power of the emotions, or can say of the mind. But you see, English language is not so clear-cut about it. So I would say Mana Shakti and Prana Shakti. These are the two powers that exist within us. And we start using them as left and right, we can say like a brake and an accelerator, and then we become the master of driving. But while becoming that, we make mistakes. The human mind has a speciality to go to extremes. Supposing I tell somebody, now you have to meditate. They'll meditate for 5 hours. There is no need to meditate for 5 hours or anything. But if you tell them that you have to stand on your head, they'll do it for 10 hours. So there is no need to go to extremes. We have to be just in the center, be kind to our body, be kind to ourselves. There's nothing to be frantic about. There's nothing to be so much exasperated about it. It's just very simple thing that has to happen to you. For example, think of a seed which is sold in a very loud music, or say a place where everybody is rushing, shouting, screaming. What will happen? That seed will never sprout. If it is in a peaceful place, is a properly placed one, or not in a tilted pot, then it will definitely develop into a beautiful tree or a beautiful shrub, whatever it has to develop into. In the same way, if we are too much on the extremes, we go to the left and to the right. Now going to the left, I told you yesterday what happens, that all these things like hypnosis and ESPs and most of these gurus try these tricks, you see, like they just make you hypnotized and people become absolutely mad over the guru. Oh, he's our guru, and they behave just like absolutely people without any brains. So I feel nice with them. The reason is that you feel there's a sort of a sense of security built in this gentleman, and if I'm following him, see, he's going to heaven and I'm going with him to heaven. It doesn't happen like that. You have to individually go into heaven yourself, and you have to become your own guru, and you have to know everything about it. It's not that anybody can put a trailer behind and put some people into it and say, now come along, I'm going to heaven. Most of these people are really going to hell, and you will follow them very fast. So it is never so, believe me, that anybody who says that following a certain guru will go to heaven is absolutely wrong. You must follow in the principle. And every guru who is a real guru will always tell you that you have to become something. He will never just say, all right, you've given me the money, all right, you are the member, now you are my child. Now you are my disciple, and I give you my love. Let's have love. Where is the love? And give more money, give me Rolls Royces, give me this, give me that. At life mad, we are doing it thinking that we can exchange this. Now, as we are seekers, we have every right to find our spirits. And we are not to be deluded by any such tricks and pranks of these people, or I would say very sinister methods that they are employing. Not only to deceive you for money. I don't mind, there are smugglers, let them have money what they want to have. But they spoil your chances of realization, which you do not realize. And once they are spoiled, it's very difficult to give a realization. And if you do not really positively work it out, it's going to be an impossible situation. I've seen people who have suffered on account of this. Now this action within us acts for our mental and physical capacities on the right hand side. Like we think of the future. Now we're planning, we start. It's planning. Now we must do this tomorrow or day after tomorrow. We have to do it and we start sitting. Now I'll go there and I'll find this and then I'll take a ticket and then I'll go there. I mean, our mind is working for the future. So much so we become absolutely futuristic. To such an extent sometimes I have met people who are futuristic, they even forget their own names. Can you believe it? I mean, they don't even remember their father's name, that's all right, but even their own names they forget. I mean, they are like mad because they don't remember their own names and they don't know where are they, what are they doing. I have met people of that kind who are really sick people because they have become so futuristic now that they do not know anything about their past. Now, this futuristic behavior starts in a society where people always think of the future. What will I do? What am I to do tomorrow? What am I to achieve tomorrow? And all these things when they start doing, their attention goes to the right extreme. Now in this place we are very dangerously placed when we start looking for the future. And the future seeing is a imaginary stuff. It's absolutely imaginary. Because what you think of the future doesn't exist. What exists is the present. You have to be in the present, not in the future. But people will say you have to be in the present. But how? We cannot. Either we are in the past or in the future. Because when the thought wave rises, it comes up and goes down. Another thought wave rises, goes up and comes down. Now, this thought wave which comes up, we go with it, but we don't see it's going down. Another thought wave that rises, we see that, but we don't see where it goes out. And so we are jumping on the cusp of these thoughts and we do not know. Perhaps we are in the past or perhaps in the future. But in the center of these two thoughts, there is the present. And we don't know how to take our attention there, which is a very difficult thing. And just to say that you should be in the center is not possible. All these things, you should do this, you should do that, is not going to work out. Unless and until there is light. For example, there is no light in this room. And you say, walk straight. You cannot walk because you can't see where is the passage, how to walk. Even if you order, do whatever you please, you cannot just walk straight without touching any of these chairs because there is no light, you can't see. So one has to understand that in the futuristic life when we live, when we plan too much for the future, actually what we are doing, we are living in an imaginary world. We have many stories of people who lived in imaginary worlds and how they found that everything was destroyed. And there are people who work it out through their physical efforts, and when they go into their physical efforts, they create another problem for them because they just become physically oriented people. And if you are just physically oriented, the spirit gets angry. So the right side movement is for the people who are very meticulous, you see what you can call the people who are very particular about the time, and who are very firm about things, who are very dry people, and who are very straight and they won't tolerate any nonsense, that sort of people you see that you find normally, and that sort of people become a headache and they are very boring. You can't just bear their company, they can be very boring people. And they give you big lectures about how to be straightforward and how to walk straight, absolutely. In the nature, nothing is straight. It all moves so beautifully because the nature is created out of varieties. And variety brings the beauty. They don't think of beauty, they don't think of love or compassion, nothing. For them, it is a very meticulous world, and that's how they live. Such people are developing a big ego within themselves, as you see there. Is the yellow stuff in the head called as ego. Let me show. By the action of the left side, emotional side, we develop a superego, but by the action of the right side, we develop an ego. Now this ego is not easy to be seen, because if you have a superego, You have pains in the body, you are a miserable person, you have wrinkles on the face, and you look absolutely worn out. But if you have ego, then you look so dynamic. We can say that Hitler was the extreme of this ego business. And he got into his head that he is some sort of a God incarnation, and that he has to save the people, and he was the one who knows about races and everything, and he is supposed to save some race. This kind of idea comes from these people who are right-sided. They are very aggressive. They may be very good to talk to. They may be very humble to look at. Could be very good businessmen. Could be anything. But they do not know that they have this Mr. Ego coming up on their heads just like a big balloon, and they are floating in the air. The end of ego is stupidity. You'll be surprised. The end of ego is stupidity. Such people indulge into all kinds of stupid things, and they say, what's wrong? For example, I've known old people behaving in so stupid ways, and they say, what's wrong? You know, an old man, say, of 90 years, who can't even walk without a stake, stakes to these dances you do, and then he falls down, you see, and he thinks, what's wrong? Like a lady I knew, she was about 85, she died from a horse falling down. Naturally, what else do you expect at 85? That's what is evident. For a lady of 85, she should settle down at home, look after her grandchildren. Maybe she might be having great-grandchildren, you see. Instead of that, why does she want to be 25-year-old lady to climb on a horse? So all such stupid things they do, and then they will say, what's wrong? There's nothing wrong in stupidity, what's wrong? But such people are a nuisance to the society, to others. The people who are superego are troublesome to themselves, but those are egoistical are troublesome to others. They are all the time correcting others, torturing others, putting their ideas onto other people, and such people can be very, very successful, because nothing succeeds like success. They go on hammering things into the heads of people, saying, now this is true, and when you go on saying it, you should suddenly believe, yes, must be so. And such people are much more dangerous, I would say, from the superego type. But for people who do not know the tricks of the superego, they can be very, very, very dangerous, because they are very subtle. You cannot see them. They mesmerize, and they can possess you, and they can be very sly, and they can work out all sorts of methods which you are not aware of. So it is not easy to choose which is better, which is not better. Both things are wrong to go to extremes on the right or to the left. Now let's see what happens physically. As I told about the cancer on the left hand side that we do, physically what happens to people who are futuristic? We have a center especially for futuristic behavior called as Swadhisthana Chakra, which is in the gross manifesting the plexus called the aortic plexus within us. Now this Swadhisthana Chakra is very important for human beings, especially for people who are developed people. With this chakra, actually, we convert the fat of the stomach for the use of the brain. Now this is the center of the Surya, of the sun. Now when we start thinking, these cells are converted in such a way that they become useful to the brain. Now, if you are thinking all the time you are thinking, then what will happen? I mean, the horns are not going to grow out of that. You are consuming all that. And when you are consuming all those cells, you have to have replacement. And for that replacement, this Swadhisthana Chakra has to work very hard to convert the cells for the use of your brain. Now, when it is doing that, there are other things which this Swadhisthana Chakra has to look after. For example, your liver, your pancreas, your spleen, your kidneys, all are to be looked after by this center, and also uterus for the ladies. Now, when there's only one work is given to this Swadhisthana Chakra, and it cannot do any other work, then other things are neglected, so you develop a terrible disease called liver trouble. Now, liver trouble is another thing that you do not feel yourself. Others know that you are liverish, the way you are hot-tempered, the way you are fussy, the way you always snarl at people, and the way you are never satisfied with anything, the way you criticize others, all this is liverish. And such liverish people are never happy with themselves because liver looks after their attention. And those who have liver problems, their attention is horrid. That goes like this. See, you cannot keep your attention straight. On the street you will walk straight into a car because you are looking at something which you are not supposed to look. But all the time you are looking at like this, you cannot walk. I mean, you won't find any animal like that who walks like this, but only human beings do it. If you see them on the street, you'll be amazed, where are they walking? They don't walk straight, they don't walk straight, but their eyes are going this way, that way, because the attention is wobbly. The attention is wobbly because of a bad liver. So this liver is a very, very important thing. Now this liver has a special capacity to extract all the poisons from the body as heat. And the heat in the body is to be transformed or should be conveyed to the blood or the water in the blood, and that has to be taken out of your body, maybe as perspiration or in another forms. But what happens? That when this liver is out of gear, it cannot do it. It cannot pass this heat into the bloodstream, and the heat remains in the body, and you really become heated. And that heat makes all these problems for you. So, in Sahaja Yoga, what happens that when Kundalini rises, she changes the form of the blood. The hydrogen and oxygen which are placed because of this heat and all that in a very funny way, like this, like that, and they start receiving this heat within them. That's why those people who have bad livers feel little heat when the Kundalini rises. But one can cure it by giving it that peace and comfort to that liver organ, and you can definitely cure your liver, no doubt about it. Then the second thing that happens to you is the pancreas, which gives you diabetes. Only a person who thinks too much gets the diabetes. For example, an Indian farmer doesn't know what diabetes is, but then you stop your sugar. But that's not the way to stop your diabetes. Diabetes comes to you because you think too much. The doctors won't understand this. That's why they say it is incurable. But because they cannot connect thinking with the disease. And this is what happens when you are all the time thinking like mad, then diabetes takes place. And this diabetes is also curable if you get your enlightenment. You can cure also the diabetes of other people, but because this vital power, which is integrated of all these three powers, flows through you, and you can replenish, you can give more to other people who are exhausted of it, and sort of you can fill them up with this power, and you can cure. The third one is the worst of all that happens to people is blood cancer because of spleen. Spleen is one thing very important, that it is the center of peace within us. The one who doesn't have a proper spleen cannot be a peaceful person. Now, it's a very simple thing, but doctors cannot connect it, nor all science-oriented people can connect it to something very, very simple. And the simple thing is that when we eat our food, if we are frantic, we are out to get trouble with the spleen, and we can get blood cancer. Now, if the mother is of that temperament or a father is of that temperament, the children might be born with blood cancer. Now, we will be happy to tell you that in New York, we had a case of blood cancer. And when I was in India, in a village, somebody came and told me that such and such boy is sick. He is only 16 years with blood cancer, and doctors have declared that he is going to die within 2 weeks' time. They always declare, they are good at declaration only. And when this case came to me, I told them that I cannot do anything, I am in a village, but you can telephone to one of the Sahaja Yoginis. She was in England, now she is in New York, and she will look after this case. You'll be amazed that the boy was cured completely. He came out of the hospital, came to see me, and now he's gone back to his studies. I mean, like this we have cured many cases of blood cancer. But here we are not to cure people by any or healing anyone. That's not our job. It happens spontaneously as a byproduct of the Kundalini awakening. Main thing is we have to make you doctors. We have to make you knowledgeable people. We have to make you collectively conscious human beings who have to enter into the kingdom of God to reside there in His peace, bliss and joy. Now this trouble also of kidney, of high blood pressure, all that is due to this. People worry, you see, and this franticness comes to us just as a matter of habit. I have known people, as soon as you say, oh, you have to go by aeroplane or somewhere,